Digital Power Hour series. Today's webinar is entitled Get on the Same Page as Google with Adaptive SEO. My name is Cheryl Baldwin. I'm the Director of Marketing Communications at WSI Corporate, and I will be your host today. Just a couple of housekeeping items before we get started. So everyone has been muted, so if you have any questions, please just type them into the question box. We will be having a question and answer session at the end of the webinar. This webinar, just for your reference, is being recorded, and the WSI consultant who referred you to the webinar will provide you with the recording after the fact. So don't worry, if you've missed anything, you will be able to get the recording and listen back to it. So in case you aren't familiar with who we are, WSI boasts the largest network of digital marketing consultants across the world. We have offices in more than 80 countries internationally and provide digital marketing solutions like website design and development, pay-per-click, search engine optimization, social media, and mobile marketing to businesses of all sizes and industries. Okay, enough about us. Now I'd like to introduce our speaker for today. And joining me to present and talk about SEO and what's happening in the search landscape and share the 5 proven methods for publishing content in Google and what Google and your prospects are looking for is Francois Muscat. Francois is a WSI digital marketing expert based in South Africa. He has over 10 years of experience in the digital industry and is an experienced speaker and trainer and even a member of the Professional Speakers Association. He's also an avid blogger, an enthusiast of social media, and you can see his social media profiles here, and you can follow him and listen to what he's saying ongoing every day. Francois also authored the content marketing chapter in our book called Digital Minds, 12 Things Every Business Owner Needs to Know About Digital Marketing. So he has a wealth of information to share with you today. So without further ado, I'd like to pass it over to Francois.
Well, thank you, Cheryl. Thank you very much. And good day to everybody, wherever you are. It's going into the evening here in South Africa. So I'm looking forward to today's presentation where we're going to talk about adaptive SEO. This is a term that WSI have coined, and I'm going to introduce you to it. And what we'll cover today is 5 points on how to make this happen. One is keyword and competitor research. This is the most important part as a foundation for any search engine marketing that you do. Once you take that keyword research, we start to understand how we should develop and build our websites. So in the technical side of the SEO, I promise you I won't be technical, but we will cover some of the things that are really important in giving a good user experience. Content marketing, it's been a buzzword for quite a while now, and this is going to help us understand what type of content should we be actually publishing on our web properties when we are targeting our clients and prospects. And then what's becoming much more important lately is what we call social signals. Actual proof that people are liking your content as opposed to just creating content and hoping that the links that come to it are based on people and they are genuine. And then to end all of this is how do you measure this and the success of this program that we actually call adaptive SEO. So one of the things I can tell you that if you don't like change, because that's what's happening with Google is making these changes all over, you're certainly going to hate extinction. So while I'm talking about extinction, I may as well mention some of the dangers of bad SEO. Bad search engine optimization that is as it's sold now by many companies. Any SEO company that offers you instant results, this should just raise a red flag. You know, the way I look at it, it's like a crack dealer, you know, giving you an instant high, but you end up in rehab for the next year trying to get back to normal. And our recent work at WSI with a multi-billion-dollar company is testimony to that. They spent a couple of years ago in excess of $10,000 on search engine services, and now they're spending hundreds of thousands of dollars in trying to rehabilitate their domain as it's a well-known brand in the US. Now, we've seen this, if any of you followed BMW and JCPenney, big brands that were wiped off Google overnight because they had engaged in what Google would call black hat techniques or tactics, things that you're trying to fool Google that your website is important. So you've got to think that if you're a company like Starbucks, you own the domain starbucks.com or toyota.com, you just can't afford to blow that domain up and start all over again. And that's the dangers of implementing SEO tactics that are not around for the long haul. And so I want to cover a little bit about search and where it's heading, definitely, but how we did it in the past and how some people are still doing it. So if we look at SEO, which is search engine optimization, it's really a techniques that we use to help your website rank higher in Google search, so that people who are looking for your brand name, your services and your products can find you. So you often wonder, if you're not sure as a client out there, how do we go about doing this and achieving this? Well, the way we used to do it, and this is still valid today to some extent, is there's two things. One is on-page optimization. Here we have to create a web page that is optimized in a way that Google can understand it. So we're normally targeting a keyword phrase per web page, and we would write accompanying and supporting content with it. So in this case, on the left, you'll see social media marketing is the main headline. So we're hoping that Google will recognize that term so that people who are searching for social media marketing would actually land on this page. And then this content would help someone know that you can use Twitter or Facebook or YouTube to do social media marketing. So you'll see normally what we do is we sprinkle the keywords through the website, the web page, in a number of places, typically like a newspaper would write an article. In the first paragraph, bolded in the headline, and then in the last paragraph. And that sort of gave Google a good indication that this is an authentic page, because you're still talking about the same keyword phrase. You're not trying to bring in some other phrase that wasn't part of what the content was. Now, to get your web page ranked higher on Google search, there's a thing called off-page optimization. And this is really links. These are links coming from other websites, such as directories and blogs. You can write a press release, articles, and even social media sites. So if you were trying to promote social media marketing, this page, you would hope that people would link to you with that keyword phrase. So we'd write a blog and we'll say, for social media marketing, WSI is a company that you could consider. And the social media marketing would be the hyperlink. And what happened was, it was pretty much very clear how to go about doing it. And people started treating it as a game, because you could work out by putting keywords into a page, and in many cases, if you started putting too many of them, stuffing them in there to try and get Google to recognize it, it just really doesn't read well at all from a user perspective. And then the second thing is, it's not a good quality of content. And the way people were writing content was focusing really to help search engines, but not the search engines, the searcher. So it's really a cookie cutter exercise of trying to see who can create more links or stuff more keywords than the next. And who suffered at the end of the day was people out there getting to websites and just really finding the content of poor quality. So of course Google got smarter and brought in their own circus animals, and not the lion, tiger, or elephant. They used panda, penguin, and hummingbird. And so what are these all about? Well, certainly Panda looks at the links that are coming through to your website. So if you went and got links from blog sites that really had no contact us page or about us page, Google would recognize that and would see that these weren't really quality websites that actually had any relevance to what you were talking about. The second thing that Penguin looked at was looking at the keywords that are inside the web pages. So if you started stuffing keywords in there, it wouldn't read well. And then finally, recently, Hummingbird came about looking at the quality of your content. And the one thing that the Hummingbird algorithm really says is you must answer the questions of the searcher. So it's important. Answer the questions of the searcher. Meaning if a searcher is typing in a question, you should be able to have that question and answer on your web content to help them really understand how to use your product, give them a good experience. So going forward, we need to focus on what people are searching for, understand the visitor and what they want, because I think that is something that many of us don't look at. We just write a website like a brochure, but not from a visitor perspective. And then we've got to give them a good experience. And by doing that, we will provide high quality and relevant content. So this could sound complicated, and in many cases it needs a bit of a plan. So I'm going to show you exactly how we can do this. And I'm going to bring in adaptive SEO, and I'm going to bring it to you nice and slowly, okay, because there are 5 points that cover quite a lot, and it's all about working out how to publish good content that your prospects like and that Google is going to like. And I think that is key when you are working forward with any of your web strategies and your marketing online, is think about publishing that is good for both your visitor as well as for Google. So the first exercise that we like to do is what we call a persona exercise, or it's your target audience. So we would identify the different personas, and in this case, let's say for my business in WSI, a marketing manager is a persona, and what demographic are they, and I'll look at what are the problems and challenges that they face. So when you write down these problems and challenges, you start to think about, okay, they don't understand how to evaluate search engine optimization. So what content should I be writing to help them understand that? Because you must remember that people, they don't want to pick up the phone and be sold to. Online, they prefer to do a bit of research, understand what's going on, and then they will normally go and select a company. So once you understand the top challenges and problems, you would then try and work out what influences their decision. So if they found your website, what's going to make them want to choose you? Because they're going to be comparing you, obviously, to somebody else. And then the key thing is, where do they hang out? So what information do they look for? So try and identify those keywords that they use, and where do they type them into? On blogs, or are they on social media searching for this content? So once we understand our visitor, we now learn how to tailor our content around the ideal customer. So we can provide them with information. Many of us, we buy books from Amazon, and Amazon is always sending us, people who bought this book, same as you did, also looked at that book. So they're giving us relevant information. And many of us will just carry on buying these books. I know, I might say I'm a sucker for it, but I find it's giving me relevant content, and I'm getting the stuff that I really want. So when you look at the keywords that they search for, and you add all of this in, you now are able to generate some good search results around what people are searching for. So if we look at the foundation of adaptive SEO, the first thing is to do some keyword research, and obviously investigate what your competitors are doing as well in this field. And you can see pretty much what they're doing by reading their content and identifying words that have been placed there specifically to attract people. So we'll look for keywords that have a certain amount of search volume. So Google will show us that someone would type in social media 250 times a month or 2,000 times a month, then you know that's not a bad keyword to go because there's available traffic for it. But they're also typing in a lot of related keyword phrases, which is why writing content using more than one phrase is important. These keywords that we get are also used to plan the website. So you start to realize that when someone comes in from a social media perspective, they might want to then go down looking at Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn. So you can help plan your site quite well with all these keywords in the right places. And this will improve the user experience for a searcher, as well as it gives our designers a clear indication of how we should be designing the site. When we are writing these keywords into the web copy, it's got to be sparingly, okay? So just certainly in the title and then once or twice on a page. It's not a bad idea to have a look at your website copy yourself and do a bit of an audit and read through it and see, how well it reads, whether you're repeating words, too many times. And you just have to maybe consider how you would, re-edit that in line with how Google wants to see it reading well. And then these keywords go into our content marketing plans, which actually help us to identify what type of content to write. Because when you engage with adaptive SEO, you've got to really remember that this is going to be publishing for quite a long time, going forward. Okay, and then we're also going to use it in social media to share with our readers. So when you are looking at building a website, you've got to look at responsive design. Now, responsive design means how does this website look on a laptop, a tablet, or a smartphone? Anybody who searches from a smartphone and has a bad experience will normally bounce off your website. Google takes that into account. So one of the most important things is for user experience is that you have a responsive design. So you can always talk to your WSI consultant that that's the way going forward. Site speed is very important as well. So anything that takes too long to load, Google measures that, and it takes that into account as maybe just not a good experience. And of course, using information architecture, let people flow, find the information nice and easy within your website. Now, one of the most important things, which I'll cover a little bit later on, is the authorship and publisher. But that has to be done in your website. You have to claim your authorship, and this is going to be very important going forward with search engine marketing. And in the next few slides, I will cover that. And then, of course, using meta tags that will drive people through to your website and write meta tags so that people actually want to click on what it is that they are searching for. When we look at the third part, which is the optimized content marketing, this is where the work comes into it. You have to plan your content. And the types of content that we're talking about is blogs, press releases, white papers, case studies. You must look at these pieces of content as the types of content that are going to help people select you, choose you, because what they're doing is really evaluating one company against another. So we create a calendar around themes, and you put topics and events inside there. And then, of course, you're looking at attracting what we call long-tail search traffic. So when people type in 3, 4, 5 keywords together as a question when they're actually looking for content. So answering the questions of searchers is where content marketing helps you, and that's where Hummingbird comes into it. It wants you to give good quality content, and the Panda algorithm is saying, we would like to see regular content being added to a website. So websites that are static, that have 5, 10 pages and they don't actually grow, Google's not going to look at them as being important as time goes by. It's looking at sites that are continuously growing, and they look at it pretty much as a big store puts a lot of marketing, a brand name puts a lot of marketing into their business versus somebody who can operate out of a small little caravan outside. So when you look at your publishing strategy, because this is the key thing nowadays, is we've got 4 steps. One is brainstorm the content. So from the keywords, let's think about what topics we can write, because we can see the questions that people are looking for. We take these keywords and we figure out what type of content should we create. Would it be presentations, blog posts, ebooks? You can talk about case studies and white papers. So when you organize these content into what we like to put maybe as a quarterly theme, so that you can focus on one subject matter at a time, then you would schedule that in your calendar. So when you start scheduling in your annual calendar, you know what day you're going to publish. So you obviously know the days that you have to start writing and developing this content, and also the type of content that you're going to publish. And then 4, the funnel is the most important part. When you're publishing content, you've got to be thinking about the different stages that your searcher is in. So the top part of the funnel, where you can see Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube in there, that's what we call the awareness part of the funnel. So people are looking, they're aware that they need adaptive SEO, but they're actually not sure what this term is. So the first thing I would think someone would type in is, what is adaptive SEO? And we could attract you to our website because we would have written a blog post about that, knowing full well that this is what people need to understand. And then we would also share that content on Facebook and Twitter using the questions that people would be searching for. So you can imagine once you land onto the page and you read about what is adaptive SEO, the next layer is what we call the comparison layer. This is where you start comparing one service to another service. So you would open up multiple websites and see whether you can learn more. So the website that actually gives you more information, which is bringing you down the funnel, would be one that would say, subscribe to our newsletter to be kept updated on adaptive, download an ebook on adaptive SEO and how to implement it, watch this 3-minute video on how adapted the 5 points of adaptive SEO, and maybe add a slideshow. So putting that on there, it also shows the expertise that you have and that you're helping your searcher learn more. And then, of course, the bottom part of the funnel is the decision part of the funnel. So this is where people want to know, well, how does it work? How much does it cost? Have you got testimonials of other people that you have used your services? So this is how your content works, is that you think about the persona, you think about the content that's going to be relevant to them, that they need, you plan it so that you think like a publisher, and then you use social media to publish it. And the reason you're publishing it on social media is obviously so that other people can share it. And this is where the thing we call social signals comes into play, where people will tweet your content, would like it, and they would even comment on a blog post and write a review for you. And then even Google Plus coming into play, where people can +1 it and like that content. So what social signals does, it shows that in most cases, obviously you can, it's not always that person that's clicking it, because someone could write a program to do that. But in most cases, somebody is sharing that content. And when someone shares your content, Google actually recognizes that and takes into account that Francois Muscat wrote some content and 3 people have shared it, and he's the owner of this content, so therefore it should be authentic. So they're trying to create the authenticity. So you can see how I presented 2 weeks ago at a conference, and by writing this blog post and having the sharing buttons, people clicked and shared on the right-hand side with some of the tweets that had come through. Now, many companies that I've talked to sometimes say they don't want to get involved in social media, but it doesn't mean you shouldn't put social media sharing icons on your website. So think about that. If you don't have it on your website, you're not giving me, the visitor, an opportunity to share that with anybody. And it's that to share it with my network. It's not necessarily something that you would have had to have. So we move on to what's really becoming a lot more important when you start thinking about publishing content is Google authorship. So authorship is really defined as being able to identify who the owner is of the original piece of content that was written. So there's a lot of people who copy and write and rehash. But if you are writing your own content and you claim that authorship on Google, you then get attributed that. And Eric Schmidt, the previous executive, well, the chairman of Google, this is what he said a while back: Google will rank content tied to Google authorship higher in search results. Okay, so gone are the days of spamming. And if Google cannot verify that your content is original and it's yours, it might hurt your search results. So that just says that if you're getting content just generated, putting it on, even on your own blog, and you're not claiming it, you might not be really getting the true value. So to get Google to know that the content is yours, you do a few things. One is you create a Google Plus profile. And to do that, you need a Gmail account. And once you do that, Google sort of knows you're authentic. And then on your blog, you link your Gmail, your Google Plus profile to your blog. And you say that that blog, I'm a contributor to the content on that blog. And then on the blog, you would actually say that this content, here are authors that write on this blog. And this loop closes it. So in an organization like with WSI, and we have a number of contributors to the corporate blog, if each one has an authorship, all of it's called an agent rank that you get as an author gets applied to the content. And that way your content is going to start increasing in search results. But better still, you're going to start getting your picture against the search results. And this is really an important part, because you would have seen this a number of times. And when you see a picture in the search results, many times your eye certainly attracts to it, and you would get more of the clicks than anybody else above you that might not have a picture. So we're looking at Matt Cutts, who's the engineer at Google, and he's an authority. And he's saying that having good social signals is a reflection of authority, and that it's something that people want to listen to. So as time goes by, your social signals are going to become more and more important. So if people are wanting to listen to you, he's also saying in the middle paragraph here, then search engines would also want to listen to you. So if we get onto, when we get onto the last point, where we're going to measure how all of this works, what do we look at? Well, the first thing is we're going to look at traffic performance. How many unique first-time visitors are coming to your website? So this is an indication of people who haven't come across your brand before. The second thing is the bounce rates. Who's leaving the website straight away at the moment they get there? So that indicates a number of things, whether the site page is slow or whether there's just too much content on it. Have a look at the referrals, because now that you're sharing content, your referrals will come from social media. So you won't just be seeing Google traffic, you'll be seeing LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, and traffic coming from other social media sites. And then, of course, your conversion rates, how many people are actually converting, are looking at downloading that presentation that you had. Okay, so when you're looking at the success of your content strategy, everything is about developing content. And what the content does, it actually creates an asset out of your web presence. So we look at each page that we create, and we see how much traffic is coming to it. And that's how you can determine the value of pages in your website. So one of the key metrics that we look at going forward is, what are the top 10 performing pages on your website, and how can we continually improve them to drive more traffic and more conversions? So this, when you're looking at this, it also gives you a clear direction as to the different types of topics that you can write. Next slide, please, Cheryl. So if we look at an integrated web presence, you can flip to the next one and let it build as I speak. Normally when we discuss it with clients, we're saying, when the first thing you do is build your destination, which is your web presence, and that consists of your websites and all your social media channels. Click ahead. So once you've done that, you have looked at the keywords of your personas and the audience. So you start to work out the types of content that they would be interested in from the 3 parts of the funnel: awareness, comparison, and decision. Once you've got your destination sorted out, that is where you are expecting to be sold to. When people come in, you then work on your social media strategy, which is the conversation. And the conversation part is getting people to share your content on the channels that they are in. So this is where you are posting your content as well. And all the conversations should lead to a destination, meaning that if you tweeted or if you put a status update in your LinkedIn profile, you should be saying, what do I want people to do after they read it? And certainly you should put a link at the end of it so you can drive them to more content. And on your mobile strategy, your location strategy would be making it accessible from a smartphone with a responsive design and letting people also lead to the main site should they need that. And click ahead. And then what happens from this is your search engine marketing starts to work. One more click and you'll find that you get your Google traffic, and then at the bottom, your web analytics. You can then see how are you getting your traffic to your website. So would it be from content that is being found in Google, and also is it being shared on social media so that you're generating the social signals. Okay, we can go to the next slide, please, Cheryl. So if we ask the question to Google, click once more, what does this all mean? Google tells me, other people must like you before I will like you. All right, so this is key. If you're going to end up with spammy content and trying to fool them and Google doesn't like it, your website will be punished and you will just not get the rankings and traffic that you need. So moving on to the last slide, adaptive SEO is the friend that you need to get Google to like you. Now, WSI have got a set process that we work with. There's 5 ways of implementing this. It starts off with a good, solid plan, and then understanding how you're going to publish it and for who you're going to publish it for. So Cheryl, at this stage, I think you might have some questions that we could take.
Yes, we do. So I'll just go through some of these questions. So maybe this came earlier from your presentation, Francois. You had mentioned probably something around keywords and using web copy sparingly. Can you just clarify what you mean in web copy?
Sure. When you, in web copy, I'm talking about a web page. So when you're writing the content, which is the copy of that page, don't stuff the keywords. So in other words, don't repeat the same words over and over again. Look at using synonyms and variations of that keyword. You know, Google's quite smart. It'll know that you're talking about, you know, fruit if you mention apples, and, you know, oranges, it's citrus. So you can use these various keywords in there, and it will actually rank you sometimes for phrases that are not even on the page. Now, we've got a site for truck hire, and we also rank for van rentals. And it's just that by using keywords in different ways, Google actually is very smart in actually figuring it out.
Great. So, Francois, there's a question here is, you know, is there a way to have your web page reviewed to see if Google is going to see you as using overuse of keywords in your web copy?
Cheryl, there are tools out there that give you keyword density of a page. I don't know any of them offhand, but you can always Google keyword density, free keyword density tool, and you would just plug in your URL in there, and it'll tell you how many times or what percentage it is. So you should always aim at about maybe 3%. You know, 3 to 5% is maximum. Once you start repeating your words more than that, it'll look like you're stuffing keywords, and it won't read well.
Mm-hmm. And maybe just, I mean, just to reiterate, I know some of the clients on this call may not be as familiar with how drastically, Google has made some of their changes recently. So things like panda and penguin and hummingbird. You know, in your opinion, how drastic have these changes been in the search landscape?
Well, I think really it's been really drastic in a number of places, certainly in the US, because that's where Google started. And when they put the Panda algorithm in for checking for poor quality links, and this is what caught a lot of search engine optimizers out, is that there was thousands and hundreds and thousands of links that were being created by these spammy blog farms and link networks out there. Once the value of those links were discounted, your rankings disappeared. So you would find that people with fewer links on their sites to their pages would rank better because they had an edu or .org link coming through. So there's things that they spend time doing. If you look at Penguin, which then looked at the content and the keyword stuffing, so if you repeated it too many times, or if you looked at your web page and at the bottom you've got a lot of links, like 15 links on the bottom of every page, linking everywhere, it started to ignore all of that, because that's what it used to take as an indication of what the site was about. It forgets about that. Google rather wants a link within the copy. So within your sentences, you should be linking out to explain more, as opposed to just putting a link at the bottom of the footer of that page. And then Hummingbird hasn't done anything about punishing you. It's just saying, if you start writing longer pages, longer copy, where you're answering the questions of the searcher, they're going to reward you with a lot of long-tail keyword search. Thanks, Cheryl.
Great. Question here, if we set up page names with keywords, will this be looked at as over SEOing?
No, and that's a very good question. So in the technical SEO part, that's what you should be doing. You should be creating your website based on the keywords that you want to structure your navigation. So definitely you'd want the keywords in your URL of every page. It is really important.
Great. A question here, do you have to add pages to your website, or is it enough just to change the current pages you have to make Google happy?
So I think if this question is about adding regular content.
Yes.
There's two ways of looking at this. You can keep your 5-page website that says, here are my services, this is what I do. We're not expecting you to make changes to those pages continuously, but what you should consider adding is a blog. So the blog would allow you to write these posts, which could be, well, they are actually web pages, part of your website domain. So you would be thinking about, okay, I'm going to write a blog teaching people about adaptive SEO. How do they go about evaluating it? How do they go about, seeing how it's going to work? So if you have a series of blog posts and you add them once every week or 2 weeks, that is regular content that's going to contribute towards your ranking. You wouldn't want to be changing your website content all day long.
Great. Just going through here. Are there any tools that you would recommend to actually plan the publishing of content on a regular basis?
One of the tools that's very popular is Hootsuite. So the way you would use Hootsuite, well, first you'd need to write a blog post, and you would publish that on your, let's call it, on your blog. If you have a WordPress blog, you're able to schedule the posts within the content management system. So you could, if you're a small business, sometimes we would write 4 blog posts on a Sunday for the whole month, and then we would just drag them into WordPress and say, okay, this one goes up this Monday, next Monday, and so on. But when you want to publish onto all your social media sites, it's quite intensive when you have to log in to Facebook, log out, and log back into Twitter. So if you use Hootsuite, you can access all your accounts from this one dashboard. and then you can publish those specific content pieces and status updates from there. And it does save a lot of time.
Great. There's some questions here on just the quality of content and, how you can know that you're actually adding quality content to your site.
Well, I think, people started adding quantity of content. So what they did was they would say, let's take a plumber, for example. So we'll do plumber in this area, and then we're going to write another blog about a plumber in another area. We just keep on, just changing the location and still using the word plumbers, because we're trying to get all of these results on Google. But if you're already ranking once for it, that's normally enough. So what the plumber should be thinking about is, how can I get more traffic to my website? So tell people how to fix a leaking tap. And many of them feel, no, I don't want to teach them that, otherwise they won't come to me. But it's not always like that, Even if I was trying to fix it, I might still go to a plumber. So a plumber who shares information, or anybody who shares information, is being helpful. So you've got to look at your content being helpful. And if someone was going to use your content without, using your service, then they were probably never going to be your customer anyway. And Google has got that free content anywhere, all over the world.
So we have a question here. Our new website has attracted great results. How often do I need to change content or links to keep those results up?
I think if you have the results, you are okay. Then you're probably doing the right thing. If you found that you have lost some results, then normally, some of the things you could consider doing is rewriting the meta tags and the meta titles of each page, and then reviewing the linking. Maybe link to that page from somewhere else within your website with a proper description. I mentioned a bit earlier, if you have a lot of these spammy links at the bottom of your footer, that's what's going to sort of work against you, or it won't contribute. So in the past, maybe that worked for you. Like it would say, we are plumbers that service, and they list all 50 states, and you've got every link, 50 states underneath the footer. That used to work well. Well, now if it stops working, you now need to consider how you're going to build that linking into the content so that it reads well.
Great. So maybe just to summarize, this will be kind of the last thing, and then we'll move on to just a general thank you for everyone. At the end of all of this, in your opinion, Francois, what will adaptive SEO help our clients do and from actual ranking and improving their rankings?
So that's a great question. So you want to say, how did this all work for me? And it goes back to building an asset out of your web presence. So think about this. You have a 5-page website and you don't publish anything else. Well, that's all you have that's indexed by Google. And you only have 5 opportunities really to bring, or 5 pages that you can publish. It gets found on Google. By adding regular content, which is the 45% part of all of this, and adding valuable content, because you thought about it, is going to do 2 things for you. It's going to give you more visibility in Google, so your brand gets found for many, many more keywords around questions and educational points that people want to find. The second thing is it's really going to help you with your conversion, because if you've produced a good slideshow or a good video or a good blog post and a download, people are going to stay on your website. Because it's good, they're going to share it. When they share it, you're getting a proper link that Google will value. They're also sharing it with their network, which in effect creates word-of-mouth marketing. So, most of my clients, in the smaller SMME part, they don't spend too much money on advertising. They say their business comes from word-of-mouth marketing, because they're always networking and that. So this is how you try and duplicate that online, is let people share your content. So it's be valuable content that's shared. Focus on quality. Rather write one good article a month than 4 articles that you're writing just to get search results on? I hope that answers the question, because I think if you do this over a period of 12 to 24 months, you would probably have ended up with another 50 or 60 articles on your website that you would own that would be contributing to continuous traffic.
That's great. So I know there's some other questions in the chat box. I mean, we're a little over the hour. So if you have any questions that we weren't able to get to, please connect with your WSI consultant. They can help answer those for you. Just a quick note that, if you're looking for education on anything with regards to digital marketing, including SEO, we have released a book, Digital Minds, 12 Things Every Business Needs to Know About Digital Marketing. We encourage everyone to get a copy. It's a great read. It's rated 5 out of 5 on Amazon. So a lot of our clients are getting good value out of the book. So we encourage you to have a read if you haven't seen it yet. I'd like to thank Francois for taking the time to share his wisdom. Please let us know how you found the information in this webinar. We do have a survey. Please download the marketing guide on adaptive SEO. It'll give you some synopsis of those 5 things that Francois talked about today. We do have an infographic that breaks down what adaptive SEO really means, so check it out. Please check out our blog. It breaks it down even further. Again, please contact your WSI consultant if you have any questions at all with regards to what you heard today. From my end, I really appreciate you attending. Thank you, Francois. Thank you. And I hope everyone has a great day, afternoon or evening, depending on where you're at. So stay tuned for additional webinars coming our way in the upcoming months, and we hope to see you on them next month for sure.
Thank you, Cheryl.
Bye, everyone.